Hello everybody. I'd like to remind you to start notes by everything is filled in except your name and the date. And then can you pause the video and take a little bit of time to do these review questions on your own. So this section and this section right here, and then come back. All right, welcome back. So what we learned in past lessons is the further to the left, the least it is. So for my negative numbers right here, negative 10 is further away from 0. It's further to the left, so it's going to be less than negative 4. And then the positives are really good at doing least to greatest. It's those negatives that get a little bit tricky. Then the absolute value. Remember, the absolute value, and I'll do negative 10 like that. So that reads the absolute value of negative 10. And remember, that is just the distance from 0. So we know that it's 10 units from 0. Negative 4 is 4 units from 0. 0 is 0 units from 0, etc., etc. Notice what happens, though, when we write a new inequality from least to greatest. These two numbers are not in order anymore. Our positives are in order. So when the absolute value of a positive number is taken, the order stays the same. But with our negatives, when we took that absolute value, the order switched. So negative 10 is less than negative 4, but once we take that absolute value, the absolute value of negative 10 is greater than the absolute value of 4. So we can see that right there. So that's something to keep in mind. Absolute value of negative numbers, the order changes. All right, this one. A radio disc jockey reports that the temperature outside his studio has changed 10 degrees since he came on the air this morning. Do we know the temperature? No, it just says it changed 10 degrees. But we don't know which direction it changed in. It could be a positive change or a negative change. So what could we add to allow us to know the exact temperature? We could either say has changed a negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to add that Fahrenheit in there. Or we could say it dropped 10 degrees. We would not say that it dropped a negative 10 degrees because that gets into the opposite of the opposite. So it's either going to change, we're either going to add words to help us know the direction, or we're going to add symbols. But you would not say dropped a negative 10 degrees because that's like the opposite of the opposite, so that would be really raising 10 degrees. Okay? All right. So let's use that idea to answer some questions. Kayla owes $30 to Quest. Hillary's account shows a balance of negative $40. So who owes the most and how do you know? Well, Kayla owes 30, right? And if the balance shows a negative 40, that means we have to take that absolute value, that magnitude, the absolute value. Hillary owes $40. So Hillary owes the most. This, I feel, is such common sense that I don't want you to overthink it. Hillary owes the most. But when it says the how do you know, you can use that absolute value to justify. Rob Haswell, my husband calls him the squirrel from Fox 6, reported that Waukesha had a temperature of negative 27 degrees. So Waukesha is at negative 27 degrees. New Berlin was at 35 degrees below 0. So if it's 35 degrees below 0, we can represent that as a negative, or it's an integer, that would be negative 35 degrees. Which school district has a better chance of having a cold day? Explain. Since New Berlin had the colder of the two temperatures, negative 27 versus negative 35, or 27 degrees below versus 35 degrees below, New Berlin has the better chance. Now, New Berlin is colder. I'm just going to erase that quickly. Sorry. New Berlin is colder and has a better chance. And for that explanation, you can even write that inequality symbol like that. Negative 27 degrees is greater than negative 35 degrees. Okay, so here we wrote it as number, as the absolute value, but you could also write it as integers. So let's try one more. Hannah's Starbucks account shows a balance of negative $150, which is really funny because she does not really drink coffee. So she's at a negative 150. Emmy owes Starbucks 110. So if she owes 110, that's a negative number there. Maggie doesn't go to Starbucks, so she doesn't owe anything. So negative 150 is less than negative 110, which is less than 0. So Hannah owes the most, which again is funny because Emily works at a coffee shop and loves coffee. She should owe the most. Maybe she owes less because she gets it for free. Maggie doesn't drink anything, so 0 is the least amount that is owed. And then here's our inequality. All right, so right now what I would like you to do is write your own example, either with temperature or money, or those are the two that I think of the most with negatives, and come up with your own example where one of the situations is using a negative symbol and the other one is using words to describe. And remember to include the question. All right, peace out.